All right, so we got our Malcolm Brogdon trade. I did not expect it to be to the Celtics. I don't think I expected it. And so now I get to be a Celtics fan, so that's fun. Um, Real quick, it's Nesmith, a 2023 first, and it's Daniel Theis, which do not add up to $22 million at all. Like, that doesn't even get close, so I don't even know how the money works on this trade, but okay. Real quick for Indiana, Nesmith, in theory, can shoot. I think it's tough being a catch and shoot guy when you play sporadically. It's just tough to get in a rhythm and all that. So if Indiana can give him consistent minutes, then that could be what unlocks him on top of playing with Halliburton and all that. And I mean, he plays really hard, and that matters. So I think you're going to see Nesmith with a lot more minutes in Indiana, a lot more opportunities. So that'll be good for him. As far as the other side of this thing, Malcolm Brogdon has missed a lot of games the past few years. Also, can I just say real quick, I like how Brad Stevens has just like kind of made it obvious to where he's like, yeah, I don't really covet first round picks that much, at least when I've got a good team. But yeah, so the health is the biggest thing here with Brogdon, right? I mean, you go down his injury logs last season. There's a whole bunch of Achilles stuff. It's not like a torn Achilles or anything, but it still doesn't look great. So that is the biggest thing. As far as his fit, I mean, look, there's been a lot of talk of do they need another playmaker, and I mentioned it a little bit when they lost in the finals. I was like, maybe it doesn't have to be a guard, maybe it could be a wing, and I've never really been on the whole like they need a true point guard. I even saw a little bit of like trade Marcus Smart this offseason stuff, which I disagreed with, but I did think they could use another guy who can keep the swing offense going, attack off the catch, be a good catch and shoot guy. Because as we know, Derek White's in the playoffs sporadically. Teams wouldn't really guard him, and some nights he'd have it, and other nights it's like he doesn't want to shoot or he just can't make a jumper anyway. Again, it wasn't every game. He did have some big shooting games in there, but you would hope for some more consistency out of that with Brogdon, as well as, yeah, there can be possessions where Brogdon brings the ball up court. Maybe the Celtics have had a rough stretch where there hasn't been enough motion in the offense, or they've just been dribbling into traffic a little too much, because for as much as we love Tatum and Jalen, that does happen occasionally for them, especially against a great defense. So maybe Brogdon can bring it up court, and he can just be like, all right, this is the play we're running, whether it's an off-ball action for one of Tatum or Jalen or whatever it may be. The other thing with Brogdon, too, is, of course, he can initiate some himself. This is a guy who ran a decent amount of pick and roll in Indiana, which, yes, Indiana probably asked him to do a little too much on offense, and that's another thing with Brogdon, right? We've seen him at his best playing off of guys when he was on the Bucks, and his efficiency went through the roof. And so if he's got more catch and shoot opportunities here and all that, okay, that could be hype. As far as his defense, I mean, as I said the last time I talked about Brogdon, I'm not really sure if the way some people talk about him defensively is how he actually is on defense at this point in his career, but if he doesn't have to do as much on offense for the Celtics, then perhaps he could still be good, especially because with this defense, I mean, Marcus is going to take the best opposing guard, and then Tatum or Jalen's got one of the better opposing wings. So maybe Brogdon will be all right in that sense. Although I am thinking about the lineups. I don't know if Brogdon's going to want to come off the bench, but between obviously Tatum and Jalen are starting, and then you've got Horford, Time Lord, and Marcus Smart. So those are five guys, and now you got Brogdon. Now, if Brogdon's cool with just being a sixth man, a super sixth man, if you will, then okay. But if not, how you shuffling that whole thing around? I mean, there's two ways to look at that. There's the luxury of, well, now we have three guards in between Marcus, Brogdon, and Derek White, who are all good passers, who can also make something happen off the dribble, so we can play two of them together, I would imagine. And then you've still got your Horford Time Lord thing. I mean, you can have times of two bigs, you can have one big. There's a lot of flexibility there, which is nice. The problem with flexibility is it can sometimes develop into a logjam, and they also got Gallinari as well. So suddenly there's like a lot of guys who expect to play real minutes on this team, and we'll just see what it looks like. But in theory, Malcolm Brogdon can play on and off the ball for this team, and that can be nice. To think about his pairing specifically with the big guys, could we see like an effective Malcolm Brogdon, Robert Williams pick and roll? I think it's certainly possible. That is another thing with the Celtics offense. I think while, of course, Time Lord in the dunker spot is nice, having another guy who can keep him engaged on offense with screen setting and all that it does open up something else, because I think when you can get him really diving to the rim possession after possession, that opens up even more for shooters and all that. So, okay, now in general, if I do seem a little lukewarm, granted I always sound like this, but if I sound lukewarm on the deal, it's just because of his health.